Hey, what is going on, everyone? Does this sound like you? You're always on the go. You're mentally drained at the end of each day, and it feels like everyone and everything needs your attention. So, the question that we want to answer today is how can moms, busy moms, build out a meal plan that allows them to drop body fat while also accommodating a busy family lifestyle? We'll get to that in a minute. And for those who don't know who I am, my name is Luke Briggs. I am the owner of the Total Life Fitness Academy. We specialize in helping parents and busy professionals lose body fat, build muscle, and have more energy. I've been a coach since 2012, and I've worked with nearly 3,000 clients. So, why is building a meal plan harder for moms than it typically is for dads or other people? Busy schedule. You got lots of competing demands and then societal expectations to do just about everything. You have your work responsibilities, especially for busy working moms. You're working full time. Then you're taking your kids everywhere, depending on their age and what activities they're involved in. You're doing all the stuff for them at home. You're making all the meals for people. Sometimes you could be doing household chores. Maybe you're doing the laundry, or then you need to do the dishes. And then you need to do all these other things. And then when it comes back to you, it's like, where's the time for yourself, right? This is very common with a lot of busy moms who come into our program. These are a lot of the things that they share with me that they are struggling with. So before we get into how to build out a meal plan, we want to go into what is actually required to burn belly fat. So the first thing that's required is you need to be in a calorie deficit. You need to burn off more calories than you take in. That is the first law of thermodynamics. If you're not in a calorie deficit, you're not going to burn belly fat and you're not going to lose weight. Then you need to optimize your sleep and stress. You need to optimize your sleep and stress. So sleep, a decrease in sleep leads to higher cravings and an increase in appetite. Cravings are going to go up, appetite's going to go up. And a lack of sleep can also negatively impact your metabolism. For those who don't know what your metabolism is, it is the process by which your body converts the food and drink into energy. So calories that you take in, that you're eating or you're drinking, your body is going to convert that into energy. And there's a big difference between getting 5.5 hours of sleep per night and 8.5 hours of sleep per night. There was a study published in the Annals of Internal Medicine that kind of studied the difference between 5.5 and 8.5. And the subjects both lost the same amount of weight with everything else, being controlled for, or as much as they could. But what they noticed is that the people who slept less, more of the weight that they lost, in fact, twice of the weight, as much of the weight they lost was muscle. So the people who are sleeping less lost more muscle versus body fat because your greatest concentration of hormones are released when you are sleeping. So it's really important that you get sleep in order to burn body fat. And then stress. Stress causes the body to produce more of the hormone cortisol. So cortisol is a stress hormone that causes more fat storage and makes it harder to lose weight, especially around the midsection, the belly area, which is the stubborn area that we're going to talk about today. So what types of stressors are there? You could have low sleep, as we already talked about. You could be under recovering, and you could just have lots of things going on. You're taking your kids everywhere, you're working full time. Many of the moms who come into our program are already working out 4 or 5 days per week. Some aren't working out at all or just starting, but then some are already working out fairly consistently. And that is a stress on your body as well. Your body doesn't know the difference between stress from working out or stress from you're stuck in traffic and, getting upset. Either way, it's going to be a stress on your body. So more stress leads to an increase in sugar cravings as well. So cravings are going to go up. You're going to be more hungry, and it is not a recipe for success when you are sleeping not a lot, and then you are also stressing out quite a bit. And then exercise. Exercise is also required to burn belly fat. Now, we've had a lot of people inside our program. I shouldn't say a lot of people, but we have had people inside our program before with minimal exercise who have lost weight and lost belly fat just from nutrition and just their general daily movement, walking, light exercise, whatever. But after a while, like, you really want to add an exercise, because exercise is going to burn off more calories, so you can eat a little bit more. And then specifically strength training is going to increase your lean body mass. You're going to build muscle with it. Thus, it is going to ramp up your metabolism. So it's very important that you exercise long-term as well. So what I want to go through now is 3 keys to success. As a busy mom, these are 3 keys to success. Before we even get into the meal plan, we need to understand these 3 things. And I want to go over the mistakes or the misconceptions as well. So the first misconception that I see a lot of busy moms make when they first start our program is thinking that you're taking away from others by prioritizing yourself. Thinking that you're taking away from others by prioritizing yourself. And this is common. I mean, think about it. Like, you already have so many other demands in your life. How are you supposed to make yourself a priority as well? So this begs the question, is it selfish to prioritize yourself? Think about reframing that. What are the consequences of not prioritizing yourself? You could be lower energy, possibly lower mood. You might not be a role model of health for your kids. You could be a role model in other areas of life, in many other areas of life. But if your kids are watching and seeing that you're not practicing your own health habits, they might be less likely to do that themselves. So I think a lot of times as moms, associating the amount of time spent with kids with the quality of parenting is a misconception. And this is one that Samantha Ettus, who is the author of The Pie Life, a guilt-free recipe for success and satisfaction, goes through, is that it's not necessarily the amount of time we're spending with our kids that makes us a good parent. It's more so the quality of time that we're spending with our kids. It's still important to make time for ourselves, but our kids are going to remember when we are very intentional and focused on them versus just the overall amount of time that we're with them. So that's a point that she makes in her book. And I think that's one that a lot of moms can resonate with. So if you prioritize yourself, you can have higher energy, better mood, possibly, setting a better example of health for your kids. And then the more we fill ourselves up, the more we have to give. When you are operating at 100%, or you're operating at a much higher percentage, are you going to show up better for others? Right. So how do you actually implement this? I've talked about this in another podcast, but communicate with your partner or spouse. And this is more than just a comment in passing, just saying like, hey, I'm going to start on this health journey. Can you support me? And they'll be like, yeah, sure, of course. But you haven't communicated what support actually looks like. To you, you might be thinking, well, support means that we don't have, bad, what's the word I'm looking for? Not bad foods, but unhealthy foods around the house, because I don't think foods are good or bad. They're neutral. It could mean to you, like, your partner or spouse is going to be watching the kids while you're meal prepping or working out, but then your partner or spouse might be thinking, oh, well, support just means that I'm not gonna, I'm just gonna let her do her thing, and then I'm just gonna do my thing. Like, you haven't even communicated what support even looks like. So you need to specifically sit down with your partner or spouse and communicate exactly what that support looks like. Because if you don't communicate what that support looks like, it's going to be hard for your spouse to support you in the way that you want. So schedule time in your calendar to meal prep, go grocery shopping, eat, work out, recover, distress, all the things that you want to do, make time for them in your calendar. And then, like what my wife and I do, like one of us will watch the kids while someone, the other one goes out and does something, and vice versa. So by communicating with each other, we're able to get what we need done while the other person is spending time with the kids. So the second mistake or misconception that I see a lot of busy moms make is not planning ahead. Not planning ahead. So going into the day or week without a plan is a recipe for disaster. If you have no idea going into the day what you're even going to have, and you're just reaching and grabbing for things, then you have already failed. Or I see a lot of people like who are logging their food, they'll just kind of log their food as they go throughout the day. They have no real clue as to what they're actually taking in. They just kind of log it and hope that they maybe hit their targets. So, what are good things to focus on to help you plan in advance? I want to go through 4 of them right now. Number 1, this is the biggest thing that we talk to our clients about inside our Total Life Fitness Academy program, is pre-logging your food the night before. Pre-logging your food the night before. If you're using a food tracker, put in the tracker what you're going to have for the next day, so you don't have to guess and just hope and pray that as you're logging throughout the day, you're going to hit your targets. Put in your protein intake first, because protein is typically the macronutrient of proteins, carbs, and fats that people tend to undereat the most. So put in your protein first. Let's say you need 120 grams in a day. Then you put like 40 grams per meal for your 3 meals, and there you have your protein. Then you fill in the rest of the calories accordingly. So now going into the day, you already know what you're going to have. Just pair it with an activity that you already do every night the night before. I remember I first got this from a client of ours. This was maybe like 3 years ago, and she had lost like 50 pounds or was doing really well. And one of the things that she mentioned was that every night when she sat down with her then fiance, now husband, she would take out her food tracker and then go into the next day and pick out the foods that she was going to have. So she already knew going into the day how she was going to hit them. And that's why she was able to be so consistent, was because she had a plan going into the day. And you can change those things. You don't have to eat exactly what you've logged if something else comes up or you want to have something else, but that way you already have a plan going into the day. That is the first thing. Number 2 is schedule time for meal prep. And I personally use a meal delivery service for a couple meals a day as well. My wife and I have just decided to invest the resources into doing that because it saves us time. If you want to prep your meals, you can use like Tupperware, maybe on a Sunday or Saturday or on an off day from work. You can, have your partner or spouse watch the kids for a couple hours while you meal prep. You can even like listen to a podcast. Maybe you can listen to this podcast while you're doing it, or listen to some music or something that motivates or inspires you, so you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You can put some food on the stovetop, some proteins and carbs. You can put some in the oven. You have everything going at once. Then you already have it measured out using a food scale. You already have the portions measured out that you're going to have for the week. You can do it for your family as well. Put it into some Tupperware containers. My family and I, we use glass containers just because it's a little bit safer when you're microwaving it. We used to use plastic containers as well. And then you store like the next couple days in the refrigerator, and then you can put the rest in the freezer, and then you just heat them up when you're going to use them throughout the week. So that way you are not, trying to wing it, right? You're not like winging it and spending, an hour or 2 a day, or just going with whatever's convenient. It's like, oh, all I have here is a frozen pizza. Let me just throw it in because that's easy. That way you already have healthy meals readily available to you. The number 3 thing to focus on is exactly that. Make healthy food readily available. If the healthy food is not readily available, it's going to be way harder for you. So if you're looking around your kitchen right now, or you might be driving or whatever, but next time you're in your kitchen and you have candy or sweets or loaves and loaves of bread and no healthy foods out, like there are no veggies, there are no fruits, there are no whole grains, things like that, it's going to be a lot harder for you to stick to your plan if you don't have healthy options right there available. So go through your kitchen and make sure that you have healthy options that are easy to access, and make sure that the unhealthier options are not as easy to access. If other people in your household want them, put them up high so that it's difficult to reach them. Put them in a different room, somewhere where it is not right in front of your eyes. The number 4 thing to focus on for planning in advance is focusing on consistency before variety. Focus on consistency first and then variety. A lot of people want to rotate and have all sorts of different foods. They say, well, I'm a foodie, I like to have different meals. And I get that. It's good to have different types of foods and try different things. But it's also a lot harder if you're having to come up with all these different meals. What I recommend to most people for the first 3 or 4 weeks that they're starting a nutrition plan is pick like 2 or 3 breakfasts, 2 or 3 lunches, and 2 or 3 dinners, and just rotate among them for the first several weeks. So then you get used to just consistency of having meals that are going to be healthy and conducive for you. If you're having to come up with different meals every single day, it's going to be harder at first and you're going to be less likely to stick to it. Then afterwards, you can add more variety, but start with consistency. And planning is important because it saves time and it allows you to hit your nutritional targets. If you're trying to meal prep different things every single day, you're going to be spending way more time than if you just prep in bulk. So planning in advance when you're a busy mom, and especially with a lot of busy moms in our program, is going to be highly beneficial. And mistake or misconception number 3 that I want to go through is a lot of busy moms focus on food quality, but not food quantity. Mistake is focusing on food quality, but not food quantity. Eating healthy without paying attention to portions is not going to help, because if you just grab like a handful of nuts, which should be healthy, quote unquote, but you didn't measure them out, that could be like 500-600 calories right there that you just wasted and isn't going to actually be useful for you. So make sure that you're actually monitoring your portions. And then a lot of busy moms will think, well, I don't want a calorie or macro count. That's going to be way too time consuming. I don't want to have to track my meals in an app. I don't want to have to do that. I have too many other things on my plate. Now, in my opinion, what a lot of our busy moms find is that it actually helps you, because then you're not just guessing and hoping that what you're doing is working. You're already busy enough. If you're just guessing that what you're doing might work and you're not actually taking the time to track and measure it, you are leaving your results to chance. Do you really want to spend the next 5 years just willy-nilly trying to lose body fat or lose belly fat and just hoping and praying that what you're doing is going to work? Or would you rather be more diligent for the next few months, and then eventually you could maybe shift to more intuitive eating once you actually understand what proper portions are and understand what you need to take in throughout the day? I would guess most people and most busy moms would answer the latter. So what do you need to focus on? First, determine your calorie intake. There are a number of calorie calculators you can use online. You can use the Mifflin equation. You can use the Harris-Benedict formula. There are a number of others as well. Just pick one and use it. Number 2, determine your protein intake. So I recommend for most people, aim for 0.7 to 1.2 grams per pound of body weight or target body weight. 0.7 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight, or if you have a decent amount of weight to lose, target body weight, per pound of target body weight. So let's say you're a 200-pound individual right now. 0.7 times 200 is 140. 1.2 times 200 is 240. So I know that's a big range, but somewhere between 140 and 240 grams of protein per day would be a good starting point. If you're not used to taking in as much protein, you might want to start on the lower end of that because you'll be more likely to be compliant. And then again, protein is important because it helps build muscle, not bodybuilder muscle, but lean, defined skeletal muscle. Then the third thing to focus on is track your food. As we already alluded to, track your food, because we as a society are very poor at estimating the number of calories that we're actually taking in. In fact, there was a study done in 1992 at St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital in New York. They would hear a lot of, overweight patients complain about how they had diet resistance and they couldn't lose weight. Now, what they did was they had these people who thought that they had diet resistance estimate how many calories they thought that they were taking in a day. And this group estimated that they were taking in 1,028 calories per day. Now, the researchers measured what they were actually taking in per day, and they were actually taking in 2,081 calories per day. The subjects thought they were taking in 1,028 calories in a day. They were actually taking in 2,081 calories per day. That is double. That's double the calories that they thought they were taking in. We as humans always think that we're not eating as much as we actually are, almost always. So it's not reliable to go based off what we think we're taking in. That is why tracking is essential for progress, especially in the beginning. It is my belief that everyone should track at some point, because if you just start by eating intuitively, your intuition has gotten you to where you are right now. So how is relying on your intuition to get you to where you want to be going to work? Right? So don't rely on your intuition. Actually track and measure your foods. This is important. What I want to go over right now is the muscle and strength nutrition pyramid that was created by Eric Helms, who is with the company 3D Muscle Journey. And he goes over in order 1 through 5, the most important things with nutrition when it comes to muscle or body composition progress and strength progress. The number one thing is energy balance over everything else, calories in, calories out. The number 2 thing is macronutrients, your proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. Number 3 most important thing is your micronutrients, your vitamins and minerals. Number 4 most important thing is nutrient timing when you're eating your food. And the number 5 and least important thing is supplements, which are talked about the most of any of them. You can have the perfect supplement regimen, but if you are still not in a calorie deficit, it's not going to matter. Those supplements aren't going to matter if you're still taking in too many calories. You can take all the fat burners or diet pills that you want, and a lot of times those are designed to blunt your appetite. But if you're still eating too many calories, they're not going to do much for you. So you may be wondering right now, so what and how much do I actually eat? Get to the meal plan, Luke, already? All right, so we're going to take an example woman. We're going to take a 38-year-old woman. Let's say she's 5'4", 145 pounds, and she works out 3 times per week. So our sample here, 38-year-old woman, 5'4", 145 pounds, and she works out 3 times per week. We're going to use the Mifflin equation, which you can look up, but it's 10 times your weight in kilograms plus 6.25 times your height in centimeters minus 5 times your age in years minus 161. Don't write that down, you just look it up. This 38-year-old woman, her BMR plus activity puts her at 2,047 calories for her maintenance. So that means that with her current activity level and her current basal metabolic rate, which is basically the number of calories that she needs just to maintain her normal functions, she needs 2,047 calories just to maintain as an estimate. Remember, this is not exact, this is just a good estimate. So we're going to start her in a 15% deficit. That would put her at 1,740 calories per day. Then we're going to give her 145 grams of protein. So she weighs 145 pounds. We're going to give her 1 gram per pound of body weight. So as an example for this meal plan, we're going to do 1,700 calories and 145 grams of protein. Now, to build out a plate, we're going to have half of our plate be veggies, a quarter of our plate be protein, and a quarter of our plate be starchy carbs. Half of our plate veggies, a quarter of our plate protein, and a quarter of our plate starchy carbs. So good protein sources would be chicken breast, white fish, tuna, 93.7 ground beef, 93.7 ground turkey. There are others as well. Starchy carbs, examples would be rice, quinoa, potato, sweet potato. Veggies, good examples, broccoli, cucumber, celery, asparagus, leafy greens, spinach, lettuce, things like that. Now to build out an actual plan. So if we're at 1,740 calories in a day, let's go through how to build out breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So we'll do breakfast, we'll do 500 to 550 calories with 60 grams of protein. For lunch and dinner, we'll do 600 calories with 40 to 45 grams of protein each. And we're going to have no snacking. Snacking is not allowed. I am not a fan of snacking because most people do snacking very mindlessly, and they do it to tide themselves over until the next meal because they perceive that hunger is a bad thing. Hunger is not a bad thing. Hunger is the signal that your body sends saying, hey, I'm used to eating, feed me. It does not mean that you need to act on it. Just because you're hungry doesn't mean you need to eat. People can live for weeks without eating. So do not respond to that hunger signal by eating. Just wait till the next meal. And eating the way that we're going to be eating here, where we're eating lots of lean proteins and veggies and starchy carbs, and we're going to be eating a lot of nutrient-dense foods, you're going to feel like you're probably eating more than you're even used to because you're not eating a bunch of junk food, if that's what you're previously eating. So for breakfast, if we're aiming between 500 and 550 calories and 60 grams of protein, we're going to have 4 egg whites. That's 20 grams of protein. We're going to have 1 scoop of protein powder mixed with water. You can choose the flavor, vanilla, chocolate, whatever works for you. That's going to be maybe another 25 grams. And then we're going to have 80 grams of oats. We're going to mix that with cinnamon and water. And then we're going to throw some blueberries in there, 100 grams of blueberries to add some antioxidants. And voila, we have our breakfast. 4 egg whites, 1 scoop of protein powder, 80 grams of oats, and 100 grams of blueberries. Meal number 2, 600 calories, 40 to 45 grams of protein. We're going to have 6 ounces of boneless, skinless chicken breast. Chicken, 6 ounces, that's going to be about 35 grams of protein right there, give or take. Then we're going to add 8 ounces of red potatoes. We're going to chop them up, add some spices for flavor, and then we're going to have a salad, some leafy greens with light dressing. Or you can have, lemon or lime juice or something like that. That's basically no calories. So lunch, we're going to have 6 ounces of boneless, skinless chicken breast, or basically 6 ounces of a lean protein, 8 ounces of red potatoes or any potato chopped and sliced up, and then salad with low-calorie dressing. Then for dinner, we're going to have 600 calories, 40 to 45 grams of protein. We're going to have another 6 ounces of a lean protein. 93.7 ground beef is what we're going to choose, and we're going to make this a stir fry. We're going to mix it with 90 grams of jasmine rice and 100 grams of bell peppers. We're going to mix those all up, and then we're going to add a low-calorie tomato sauce with pepper or salt or another seasoning. So just mix it up. It'll taste really good, and then you can just rotate in different proteins and carbs and veggies, and you have endless options. You might be wondering, but what will my family eat? have a conversation with your family. We already talked previously about having a conversation with your spouse. Have a conversation with your kids as well. And if your family doesn't want to eat what you're eating and doesn't want to eat healthy, then maybe you do need to make 2 separate meals. But most of the time, your family will probably want to eat a little bit healthier as well. So come up with a list of foods that your family will eat, and then just rotate different proteins, different carbs, different veggies, different condiments, different seasonings. So that way you can have a little bit of variety, and then you just eat different portions than what your family eats. You can have the same foods, then you just measure out your portions. You also may be wondering, but what if I'm eating out in a restaurant or at someone else's house? Easiest thing to do is plan ahead. Call your friend who you're going over to their house, call your family member, text them. For the restaurant, look at the menu online. Most of the restaurants are going to have their menu online, or you can call ahead. If it's a chain restaurant, they're typically going to have the macronutrients on there as well, the proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. Just know that it's an estimate. It's not going to be exact. Not going to be exact because it's a different person preparing it each time. They may be preparing a little bit different, but it's a good ballpark to start in. And then, as we talked about previously, you're going to pre-log the meal the night before, and then you're going to plan the rest of the day accordingly. Let's give an example. Let's say you're going over to a friend's house, and you're going to have hamburger on the grill, chips, salsa, brownies, beer. So assume the hamburger will not be lean. Let's say it's a 70-30 hamburger, 70% lean, 30% fat. So 6 ounces of a 70% lean hamburger is going to be 550 calories. And again, we're assuming that your budget for calories is 1,740. And that's going to be about 35 grams of protein for the hamburger. Now, the hamburger bun is going to be about 150 calories, 3 grams of protein. Add about 50 calories for the ketchup, depending on how much you use. I would always estimate a little bit higher. Then let's say there are going to be Doritos there. So 12 chips is 150 calories. You're going to have 2 servings of chips. You're going to have 24 chips, 300 calories. Then you're going to have 2 Miller Lights for beer, 12-ounce cans. That's going to be 200 calories. And then you're going to have a brownie that is 200 calories. So you're going to have 6-ounce hamburger bun, ketchup, chips, 2 beers, and a brownie. That will put you at 1,450 calories and 50-ish grams of protein. That means you have about 300 more calories for the day. So that means that the rest of the day, you just need to have all protein. So you can have 6 egg whites for breakfast. That'll give you 30 grams of protein. 6 ounces of chicken breast with lemon and veggies for lunch. Give you another 35 grams of protein. That's 65 grams of protein. Then you're going to have 1 scoop of protein powder with water. That will give you 90 grams of protein. So that'll put you at your protein target. However, that's about 450 calories, which should put you at 1,900 calories. So you need to remove about 150 calories. So you can just remove half of the Doritos serving and then just have 12 chips instead of 24, and then you'll be at your 1,740 calorie target. When you're eating out at a restaurant, don't graze or snack. This is my number 1 rule when I'm eating out somewhere. I do not graze on all the appetizers. You're going to end up eating 500 to 1,000 mindless calories. They don't even fill you up. And then by the time you get to your meal, you will already way overeaten. Load up when you sit down. You're going to eat one time. Eat one time. When I'm at a restaurant, I don't eat the appetizers until the full meal is served. Then load up on your protein and veggies first, because those are going to be the most filling and the most nutrient dense. And then you're going to eat the rest. Eat slowly. Set your fork down between bites. It's not a race. Savor the food that you're eating. And then make sure that you've eaten heavy protein ahead of time so you're not starving going into the meal, just like we talked about before. If you're going over to someone else's house, you could literally have 6 egg whites, 6-ounce chicken breast, protein powder, veggies, all that, and that's only 450 calories because you actually planned it out and didn't eat the carbs and fats ahead of time. So this is how to build out an example meal plan for a busy mom. You may have your own variations. This is just typically what we found has worked well for our clients inside our Total Life Fitness Academy program, and hopefully it is helpful for you.